All right, guys. So next review unit's going to be AIM R8. It's an Imperialism unit, and it comes right after the Industrial Revolution. Um, Industry requires a few important things. They require raw materials. They require cheap labor. They require markets for the sale of goods. So obtaining colonies in far off lands fulfills a lot of those needs. So that's why the imperialism unit goes hand in hand with the industrial revolution unit. Um, these are three important vocab terms. There's obviously way more than this, but for the sake of getting started, we have these on the as the do now. Pay attention to the vocab worksheet that comes with this lesson. You get the rest of the vocab there. There's even more than that, but like I said, we're going for the top, the top terms that we absolutely must know. So pay attention. All right, we're going to split it up into two parts. We're going to talk about imperialism in Africa, and then we're going to talk about imperialism in Asia. So here we go. Like we said, we need it, the whole thing is about three reasons why colonies are necessary: raw materials, a market for the sale of goods, and cheap labor. And we have those are all here. Raw materials to fuel industry. Natives can be used as sources of free and cheap labor, and the colonies represent a new market for the sale of manufactured goods. So, all of these three things are happening. When you go and get a colony, that colony can serve all three of these purposes. The European superpowers start arguing over sections of Africa, who wants what and what should belong to who, and so on and so forth. So, they have a big meeting where they all kind of reach agreements about what parts of Africa will go to what European countries. It's called the Berlin Conference, and we need to know that. Natives of these places are not treated particularly well. After all, this whole idea of colonization and imperialism is about economic gain. So European countries are not too concerned with the treatment of natives there. They're really more concerned about the economic aspects of it. So this is going to lead for conflicts for independence in many colonies, and it often results in ethnic conflicts. When we move forward into other units, modern warfare and modern conflicts, as well as some parts of the genocide unit, we'll look back at the Berlin Conference as a reason why some of this stuff happened. Truth be told, European nations come in there and just draw up boundaries with absolutely no regard to the ethnic or tribal rivalries or friction that exists there already, and they start grouping people up into, countries that they probably would be better off being separate. This is going to bear its teeth when we get to like Rwanda is the best example for that. Hutus and Tutsis just start killing themselves, and had Europeans not drawn up those boundaries themselves, maybe that would have played out differently, but who knows? So we'll return to this idea, but there are significant impacts here. When we get to Asia, we talk about India. India is the crown jewel of the British Empire. It is its own subcontinent. It is gigantic. Okay, today India is the second most populous country on earth. There's 1.3 billion people there. So if you're looking for sources of cheap labor and market for manufactured goods, India is a good place to start. Like we said, imperialism is an economic function. So British turns over control of India to a company, British East India Company, and they run India themselves. It doesn't go so great. The Indian citizens there that act as a security force for the British East India Company, called sepoys, they will mutiny. We've been over that story as far as the ammunition and how they were treated, and their religious and cultural beliefs were disregarded by the British, and that really pissed them off, and that's why they revolt. After that, we go to China. British again in China. A lot of this starts with the Opium Wars. They're selling opium in China, and they want to use the profits from the sale of opium to purchase tea, amongst many other things. Um, China not exactly thrilled with the idea. Everyone's just kind of laying around addicted to opium, so it's kind of a bad look. They ask the British to stop. The British refuse. Opium War results. They sign the Treaty of Nanjing or Nanking. You might see it spelled both ways. And that kind of ends the Opium Wars. And what it does is it establishes spheres of influence in China where England will kind of run sections of China economically for their own gain. A lot of natives in China are going to get sick of foreigners kind of dominating their country and especially their economy. They launched the Boxer Rebellion, attempts to remove foreign influence. Eventually, the Boxer Rebellion is shut down, but it is a nationalist movement that we should probably be aware of. After that, we move on to Japan. During the Tokugawa shogunate, um, Japan leads centuries of an isolationist policy. So when everyone else starts imperializing and industrializing, they are late to the party. Um, Commodore Matthew Perry of America sails to Japan and, under threat of violence, demands that they establish a trading relationship with America. Tokugawa government refuses, and eventually relent. They refuse at first, but eventually decide to relent, and they sign the Treaty of Kanagawa. The Treaty of Kanagawa establishes a trade relationship between the U.S. and Japan, and other countries follow shortly thereafter. After that, we get into the actual Meiji Restoration, where Emperor Matsuhito leads a modernization and westernization bid in Japan. He will invite foreigners in to modernize things like transportation, education, industry, the military, etc. So those are some of the impacts of imperialism. So when we talk about imperialism, the things we need to know about are why was it being done, and then two, what are the impacts of imperialism in a lot of these places? And the whys are basically imperialism serves to fuel industry. That's the short answer, and the impacts are really the presence of foreign superpowers in these areas. Push these people of these countries towards nationalist movements. So, the Boxer Rebellion. You'll also see the Taiping Rebellion, the Sepoy Mutiny in Africa when we talk about conflicts for independence later on. Those are really the main impacts. So, those are the things we definitely need to know about. All right, so make sure you guys check out the vocab. The review sheet is on there also. And if you have any questions, I'm here. So check out the multiple choice questions also. Try to test yourself, see how you do, and then you can check your own answers with the answer sheet that's attached there also. So hope everybody's staying safe. Miss you guys. Maybe we'll see you eventually. Hopefully. See you later.